Hello, everyone. It is August 12th, and I am here to talk about the Leo new moon, which occurs on Tuesday, August 18th, in the evening at 8:42 p.m. Mountain Time, which is where I am. You can adjust it for your time zone to know the exact moment of the Leo new moon, which occurs next week. So, new moons are a time where the lunar cycle renews itself. So we have a moon that is born at the new moon, that kind of comes of age at the first quarter, that culminates into what it's really about at the full moon, starts going through old age around its entrance into the fourth quarter, and then becomes a crone in the balsamic or the final waning crescent phase before being renewed by its dip and bath into the sun at the new moon. So, new moons are beginnings of cycles, and there's a lot written and a lot in kind of social media about setting intentions. And if you've listened to enough of my work or heard me talk about it, I really don't think that the new moon is the space to get your conscious mind to, write a list of things, but really the space to go deeply inward, away from your conscious mind, deeper than your conscious mind, and really make yourself receptive. That's what the moon does. It receives. It receives and reflects the light of the sun, but it's also kind of our first filter of reality, which is why your moon sign and phase is so important, because it's going to describe how you receive information and experiences, and how you kind of translate things from something that happens outside of you into the personal meaning making that you make of it. And that is all going to be in the flavor of your moon sign and phase, which is why it's so important. So at the new moon, I think it's really important to pay attention to the things that come to you that are not literal, that we cannot frame literally. And so that is, things that come in dreams, or signs you get from animals, or my mother has dreams of animals a lot, and those dreams are always really meaningful to her. And so that's one way that you might go in. Other people use tarot cards, or however you speak to the powers that move you, or to the main currents and rivers of your life, and how you get information from them. I think new moons are a time for that, because we're not so involved in our tasks. And if you're hearing little grunty noises, that is my baby sleeping next to me, and hopefully he'll stay asleep. So it's a time to really be receptive. And one of the ways that we can be receptive is to withdraw, because we're listening to deeper voices, either inner voices or voices that get drowned out by the busyness of our lives, and get drowned out when we're really on task with what we're trying to do, which is the flavor of the full moon. It's being fully committed to a project and going full throttle. Whereas the new moon is kind of that pause, the stillness. It's the pause in between the exhale and the inhale. So this moment of stillness, and then what happens after the new moon, it erupts with inspiration. And so that can happen in the new moon phase. There's a kind of visionary quality to it. So that is kind of the tone that I like to go into new moons with. If you want to kind of use creativity to receive the messages of this new moon, that works really well. Leo is a very creative, joyful, playful sign. And so, painting, dance, singing to yourself, kind of any of that expression that's kind of that's kind of helping your heart come out into expression, and then you can reflect on what has come out. That can all be really helpful, especially to kind of gain some movement. But new moons are also specific. So we've got a Leo new moon, but of course that occurs at a certain degree. It occurs at a certain time. All of the other planets are doing something. So in a moment, I'm going to switch and we're going to look at the chart of the new moon, and we'll see kind of specifically what might be coming up based on the chart. Of course, I'm just one astrologer, and different astrologers will have different things to say about it. So keep what resonates and ignore everything else if you want, or leave comments. Let me know what you think. But as always, I try to provide information that empowers you to be able to confront the reality of your life and the reality of the story, neither sugar-coated nor kind of in a doomed way. Kind of to make best use of qualitative time, which is how I understand astrology. It's changing the flavor of time and cycles. So let's look at the chart. So here's our Leo new moon. We have the new moon occurring at 26 degrees of Leo. At the moment it occurs for my location and in my time zone, but I think it's basically the same. We have a Pisces rising chart, which means it is ruled by Jupiter, the traditional ruler of Pisces. Jupiter is in the 11th house, also in Capricorn, as it has been since December, which is the sign of its fall, and so it struggles there. So, and then we also have a new moon in the 6th house, which is traditionally a house of illness, a house of difficulty, a house of hard work. The new moon itself is in a trine with Mars in the 2nd house, and it's kind of touching in with the South Node. I'm not sure how significant that will end up being. We also have the midheaven of this new moon is in Sagittarius, similarly ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter is a part of this new moon. And so what I really think we're working with in looking at this chart is, with the new moon occurring in the 6th house, I think that this new moon is really about daily life. I think if we're going to try to kind of start some epic stuff, which is, Leo loves to start epic stuff, I don't think it's going to work out. I think the way to navigate this new moon is to honor the work of your daily life, which can be symbolized by the 6th house. We also have Mercury there, very close to the new moon, conjunct the new moon. Mercury in the 6th house, I find, is a signature for people who are really good with their hands. And so what are we making with our hands? And of course, this is in the sign of Leo. So how is our heart, Leo, connected with our hands? And what do we do in our daily life to honor that? And that can be reflected in what we feed ourselves. So I know that in my part of the world, it's peach season. And peaches really feel like holy fruit to me. I think when I was younger, I got a philosophy degree and I have a history math degree. They're the same degree, but a classics degree, and was very analytical and decided I was an atheist. And then there was just a moment with the peach where I knew I wasn't an atheist. And I don't really claim a belief system because I experience my faith as a feeling of faith and not as a belief or a creed per se. But I think letting the earthly world touch you and move you, and feeling spirituality through through the natural world and through matter and what exists in our interaction with it, I find to be very powerful. And that might just be a Virgo thing. I'm a double Virgo, and so Virgo's finding God in the details, finding God in the peaches. That might be what it is. But I think letting yourself be moved by really the integrity of your daily life, and making sure that your daily life is, you are wholehearted in your participation with it. I think one of the gifts of all of our lives being rocked in this way by COVID and kind of, destroying our sense of normalcy, and just destroying really our sense of being able to rely on the future in this way where we felt like we could all plan for it. The gift in that is that we are given the present, and the present not as a means to an end to a future, but the present as ripe for being experienced in itself. There's a quotation that I love. I forget who said it, so if anyone knows, feel free to credit them. It is, how we spend our days is how we spend our life. And I find that to be a really grounding thought, because it kind of restores the significance of each day, and really the value of all of these little blocks of time, and not just of the grand tasks that we might identify a life's work with. I think it's important to enjoy your days and to have parts of every day that you really enjoy, because it honors the inherent power and pleasure in being alive. I'm thinking now of Joseph Campbell, who was a Leo, and talks about this quite a lot, that we're looking for the rapture of being alive, the experience of being alive. And so I think this new moon calls us into working with that in our daily life. We've got Jupiter kind of ruling the lunation, or ruling the chart of the lunation, not the lunation. The sun rules the lunation in Leo, and an empowered sun and connected with Mars. So you can get some work done, but it's sixth house work. It's humble work. It's cyclical work that you have to do all the time. So how do you find joy in doing the laundry, in unloading the dishwasher, in just being wholehearted in your tasks, and especially your tasks with your hands, with Mercury right there, or possibly with your voice. Really working on the voice too could be powerful during this new moon, because we've got Jupiter in the 11th. And so my feeling about that is really that our experiences of the community and the groups that we identify with is really part of a struggle. So either feeling disconnected or feeling disappointed, or really recoiling from the abuses of power that are existing in our communities. And by all means, right, we need to be taking action to change that. But you cannot take action all of the time. If the cycles of the moon teach us anything, it's that there are natural rest periods. Everything in nature has a season of dormancy. And right, so when you sing in a chorus, you can hold a note for a really long time if people are taking staggered breaths. So, people are holding the note for as long as they can, and then they're taking a breath, and then they're picking it up again. And as long as everyone's inhale doesn't happen at the same time, then the note is unbroken. So I think it's really important, again, with this sixth house, to be taking care of ourselves, and to notice the moments where we need to have an inhale and step back out of the community, to take that spiritual inhale so that we can continue our work. We also have Mars in this lunation in between squares from Pluto and Saturn. So Mars, our ability to take action, is a little bit under siege in between kind of these powerful fears, and this sense of restriction. And the story of Mars squaring these planets at the end of Capricorn is the big story of the fall. And in August, Mars goes through this series of squares with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, from a position of moving in direct motion, moving forward in Aries. But in the first week of September, Mars is going to station retrograde and move backwards through all those squares. So we're dealing with energy of frustration, of wanting to take action, but a little bit of facing Goliath, and facing these problems that are bigger than us, and really having to decide which battles are worth fighting. We might start running into them. And so that's all the reason more why it's important in this little kind of lull that we have in August in between a difficult July and a very difficult September to, again, come into the sixth house, make sure that we're maintaining ourselves, our hearts, our voice, in ways that are sustainable, because the road is long and the work is hard, and 2020 has been quite a year and it is not over yet. So that's kind of what I have to say about this Leo new moon. So feel free to let me know what your experiences are, how your experience of last month and the Cancer new moon was, and then what you might be doing to kind of be in dialogue with your heart and connect with the story you're living, and how each new moon is the opportunity to bring something into your life that isn't you, which is, again, why I think it's so important not to write down intentions, because I think that is part of this sense of control that we all want to have, which may make us feel safe, but it contributes to isolation if you think you are the only mover and shaker in your life, and if you're not in dialogue with the world around you, or with a deep myth that you're living in the renewal of yourself. So I hope you all have a very wonderful month, and you can check out my other forecasts, which I post every week, and like this video and subscribe to my channel if you like the content, and feel free to share. I hope your hearts are strong and valiant in their renewal in Leo season. Be well.